is you're going to hear people who can't stop talking about it and people who will never talk about it. And you'll see that kind of mix very, very often. I have a friend who works at hospice. He's a doc. And he said, who's dying now are World War II and Korean War vets. And he said, on the deathbed, you're seeing people open up and tell the stories of war. And the picture was of a 4-year-old, about a 4 or 5-year-old girl, about the same age as this. And it really gave him pause because he had to now realize the gift that was just given him with his life and the ability to raise his daughter and what this man gave up by giving up his life and what that pause did. He carries this picture around to this day in honor of the fact that he has been given his life. And what a gift it is, and what a loss to someone else. And when we break down the veils of war, we're talking about human beings. And what Dr. Tick talks about here is this is the soul wound, the wound that goes against your morality. We are brought up in a way, you know, many of us are Christian, Jewish, whatever. See is like, where do I fit? I'm not the same. You cannot go back and be who you were. War changes you. These experiences shift your whole identity. I mean, the very first shift is you go from being a civilian to be, you go through boot camp and you become a soldier, you become a warrior. And what happens is there's a transformation of your identity that occurs. And then the other transformation that happens is if you're in war, how you respond to that. And then the next transformation is who's this person coming home? And how do I assume some identity again, feeling different? And so many times, men and women coming home want to grasp to what they were before they had these experiences. And that don't work. So what happens is we have to find ways of helping people transform their identity. And so if we can replicate those attachments and those bonds through purpose, we help someone transform their identity and heal on a spiritual level, which nobody likes to really talk about, but is definitely a part of who we are. I'm not saying religion, but spiritual. So what you do by having someone have the tools to save somebody's life, you are doing something very healing to their soul. And you watch, you're going to see like a lot of veterans coming back. You know what they get into? They become firefighters, EMTs, police officers, correctional, And what happens is every war has its own unique aspects to it. So you're fighting in a different culture. So like our challenge is we have to learn some of the language of people who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and that helps you with building rapport. What I want to say, at the core levels of this, it's very much the same.
Say again?
It's very much the same. War trauma is war trauma. You see someone lose their life, you see someone's head blown off, you see children dying, that affects you. And where it becomes very unique, and again, the risk factors start to climb. And they are risk factors for addiction, incarceration, domestic violence, bar fights, all kinds of things then start to compound. So, we bring our unique self to every situation, and we are all uniquely. Mindfulness is the practice of being present in the moment with intention, without judgment. Being present in the moment with intention, without judgment. Now, let me just start with, have you ever been in a conversation with someone where their body is present, but you feel their mind is somewhere else? And a lot of times that's us. But what happens is, when you teach someone to be really present, many things happen. Your speech gets more mindful. Your listening is more attentive. And what happens is you're actually self-regulating to teach yourself to be here right now, because, you know, so often we're thinking ahead, like all the things we have to do, our to-do list. We have to pick up this, we have to pick up that, we need to talk to so-and-so, so we're in the future. Or we're looking back. And we're looking back, you know, sort of reliving things. I could have did this better, I should have said that. And what happens in this past, present, past and future kind of way that we often exist is we miss the present moment. The present moment is the only place where life is lived. And it's good if you can be present for it. So what we see is our mind takes us on journeys. Sometimes when you have the trauma bond of war, the mind takes you like a vortex back into these experiences. So what you want to do is you want to give people the skill of noticing so they can reel themselves back in instead of attaching to those things. What science has taught us through fMRIs is that you can be sitting there, Dave, and be thinking about something and light up all these parts of your brain as if it's actually happening. So what happens is you'll experience all the tension, anxiety, etc., of where you focus your mind. So you can also see the value of when you notice what you're doing, that you can take yourself out of that. That it is simply a thought, it's a leaf floating down a river. You don't have to attach to it. And you can also see pretty quickly what happens when you do. So what they found is several things. The practice of mindfulness helps with anxiety, depression, pain management, relapse prevention. Those are indeed parts of PTSD. So you can see its value in a treatment center working with veterans.